Most residential interiors will remain traditional or have a mixture of traditional and modern or maybe even postmodern elements. However, high-end residences and commercial and public structures are more likely to have interiors with high-style features. Like architecture, postmodern interiors reject the modern idea of minimalism and are more theatrical and attention-grabbing. These interiors often feature exaggerated patterns, vivid colors, and historic design elements, along with unusual angles. Rather than focusing on a single style that is stripped of details, postmodern interiors tend to incorporate a mixture of styles, materials, and ornamentation. In fact, contradiction is a key element of most of their design. Modern design emphasized function and was stripped to only those elements, whereas postmodernism tends to bring in this whimsy. The bright colors and patterns reminiscent of Nickelodeon, if nothing else, are going to be reminiscent of some of the historical elements that we're used to, combined with this sort of need for vivid color and changes in shape and texture. So here, for example, what you're looking at is a public building, and we have those historical elements at play. We have the columns. These are, again, Egyptian-style columns, but they're broken up with lines and colors that you would never expect in ancient Egypt. There's almost a playful whimsy about this space, and yet we have a certain sustainability. You'll notice the wooden railings rather than steel. The colorful nature of everything in the space, the pattern on the ceiling, which is reminiscent of Art Deco, but not entirely Art Deco. So it all comes together to create something that is technologically advanced. It's using recycled materials. We're seeing plastics, laminates, woods, metals, all used in their traditional forms at times, but other times covered with patterns that make the material irrelevant. So it's a really interesting mix, and it really has a sense of whimsy about it. There are things that are there that don't need to be there. That's the reaction against modernism. And as we look at it, it's all about art and aesthetic. Create something that is comfortable, that is beautiful, and you will have happy employees or happy guests or whatever the circumstance happens to be. However, because of the level of detail and the cost of postmodern furniture and decor, you rarely will see it in residential settings. Now, one other thing that we see in a lot of postmodern interiors is going to be the use of things like ventilation and support systems. Here again, within Pompidou Center, of course, you need some ventilation within the structure while most of it is outside. And they're going to be used as decorative elements. So they're painting all that ventilation this bright, vibrant blue. They're actually calling your attention to something that usually we're trying to ignore. Those hanging lights in sort of a brushed metal or a metal finish. Again, calling your attention to them. Rather than trying to hide them, let's make them aesthetic in and of themselves. So it's a really interesting element of postmodernism where they're trying to hide certain things, but then they're trying to give an air of whimsy. And if you're going to have something like ductwork be available and visible, why not make it part of the overall design?